Alright, what's going on everyone out there on YouTube? NES Ruler, and welcome to a brand new review. And this time around, we'll be checking out a series of films that was sent to me to review by Arrow Films. And you can pick this Blu-ray box set up at all your favorite online retailers. It is the third volume in this series that Arrow has put out. And it is the black edition of the Giallo Essential set. So like I said, this is the third volume from Arrow. They put out a red edition first and the yellow edition secondly. I have most of those films that are released in those sets separately, so I don't have those sets. But this is the third set that Arrow has released here that is coming out at the end of July. And this set comes with 3 Giallos, of course. Smile Before Death, The Weapon, The Hour, The Motive, and The Killer Reserved 9 seats. So we'll be going through each film and talking about my thoughts on them. And the first film in this set is Smile Before Death. So let's pull it out of here and let's get talking about some Giallo. So it's very weird watching Italian films in the middle of the summer. If you guys don't know, when I was on the 22 Shots of Moods and Horror, we would do Italian Horror Month in November. And we've done that for 8 or 9 years at this point. So we would watch 12 Italian films a year, pretty much. And I've kind of come accustomed to these Italian movies. They're not my favorite. It's not my favorite country of films, to be honest with you. But I've learned to enjoy some of them after the many, many years of watching quite a bit of them. So this is Smile Before Death. This is from 1972. So 2 years after my favorite Italian film, The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, which is, of course, Dario Argento's first film. That is my favorite Italian film. So this is 2 years after that. That film really started, popularized the Giallo boom. At least I'm pretty confident that's the case. But anyway, Smile Before Death. This movie, it has your typical sleazy Italian feel to it. There's a lot of nudity. There's a lot of lesbian stuff going on. There's a lot of, stepfather, stepdaughter, alleged stepfather, stepdaughter stuff going on in this movie. It's very, very sleazy with a little bit of a Giallo twist thrown in, if you want to say. So we basically follow Nancy. Nancy is this 16 or 17-year-old, actually, and she's naked a lot in this movie, which is, it brings up a moral question, which, the movie that comes to my mind the most when it talks about that is the original Stepfather. The character in that film is naked in that movie, and she's supposed to be a high schooler, so you kind of get into the tune like, oh, she's underage, and she's naked throughout the most of the movie. But anyway, we follow Nancy. She is a student who is at a boarding school, and her mother's very wealthy. She has a lot of money, and one night Nancy gets a call from the police department that her mother was found dead from an apparent suicide. So Nancy goes back home, and she meets her apprentice, who is living in this huge house along with her stepfather. And as the film goes on, Nancy becomes fascinated with her late mother's apprentice, who is a photographer. She becomes all into beginning photographed and things like that. And along the way, we learn, of course, that this apprentice and Nancy's stepfather was actually part of killing Nancy's mother. It's not a spoiler or anything like that. It says it right on the back synopsis. And that's basically it. It plays out as Nancy's mom's apprentice and the stepfather are trying to cover up this apparent suicide, which was actually a murder. And as along the way, more people get murdered, and then the ending has a big reveal. And along the way, you have a lot of sleaziness, a lot of what you usually see in Italian films from this time period. That's basically about it. It's very simple as a Giallo. There's 2 murders in the film, and that's basically about it. The rest is just filled with dialogue and character building, if you want to even call it that. It's not my favorite film, to be completely honest with you. I feel like the performances are typical of what you see from an Italian film in this time. It's not going to blow your mind or anything like that. And it has a really weird soundtrack, like super strange, like la 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 la, really weird, really weird soundtrack. If you guys have seen this movie, you know what I'm talking about. It's a very bizarre soundtrack, and it plays throughout the entire film, like over and over and over and over again. And by the end of the film, not gonna lie, I was kind of sick of it, but it did make me laugh at the beginning the first time I heard of it, because it's just such a weird tune. So let's get into the features. This is a new 2K restoration. It looks okay. It didn't blow my mind or anything like that, but it's probably the best the film has ever looked, and I'm pretty confident. I'm not sure this has been released outside of this set yet, but it is what it is. It's a 1970 Italian movie, and a lot of these early Giallo films don't look amazing to begin with, so it's not a shocker that this one doesn't look the best. But like I said, probably the best that it's ever looked. Has the original Italian and English track on this. Of course, I always watch the Italian version, even if it was dubbed in English. I usually watch the Italian version. And then, of course, you have subtitles for that. I got a brand new commentary track by two film critics, original Italian and English front and end titles, and then a brand new video interview with the director's son of this movie, and a never-before-seen extended nude scenes not used in the final film. So like I said, this movie's very sleazy if one of the features is extended nude scenes. So not the most features, not that many interviews, if you want to say, but has the commentary track, has at least one new interview, and it has those extended nude scenes. So Smile Before Death, it's not one Giallo that I think you should run out and check out. But if you have a chance, I think you should give it a watch if you're into Italian movies and giallos. But just be known that it's not anything amazing or fresh or anything like that. So that is my review of Smile Before Death. So we shall cut it here, and we'll get back in a little bit, and we shall talk about the next film in this set. So I shall talk to you guys soon. See you guys. Alright, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the second film in the Giallo Essentials Volume 3 Black Edition, if you want to say. And this time around, we'll be checking out yet another film from 1972. And this one is called The Weapon, the Hour, and the Motive. So, from what I understand, this is the first time that this film has had any sort of a solid release. It's been on the internet, and you can watch it on like Amazon and things like that, but it's a really poor transfer and things like that. So this is the first time that, from what I understand and what I've seen, this is the first time that you were able to get this movie in a really presentable package. And this movie, while The Smile Before Death relies on, which I just reviewed, relies on a lot of sleaze and your typical nudity that you see in early 1970 Italian giallos. This movie focuses more on the police drama aspect of the giallo, which is more my cup of tea. It's more of what I like to watch when I watch a giallo. I know some people love that sleazy goodness, but I'm more of a basics person. Just give me a police officer or a detective trying to solve a murder, and I'm good. But that's not to say that this movie doesn't try to throw in nudity and things like that, because there's definitely its bit of sleaze, but not as strong as it was in The Smile Before Death. So basically, we follow Don. Don is a young priest at a church, and he's having an affair with two women, basically, at the same time. And one night, he decides to break it off with these two ladies, and ultimately, he is found dead in the chapel one morning. And it's basically, we follow Franco, who is a police commissioner who goes around and tries to solve the crime. And along the way, he has a love relationship with one of the mistress that Don was having an affair with. And basically, it's just them two trying to solve what happened to Don. and that's it. You know, you have your typical Giallo setup right there, and it's a really interesting movie, to be honest with you. Like I said, I feel like these Giallos, especially these early ones, don't really rely a lot on the violence. This one's more the same. You don't really have that much killing and violence going on. It's more of a, you know, your typical drama, police drama, which is good. I like it. All the performances were really good, really solid. The acting was pretty good. You know, it was anything. I've seen way worse in Italian films from the early 70s, let's just say that. So, the fact that Arrow gave this film a release is really cool. Like I said, it hasn't had a really solid release before. And the fact that it now does, I hope more people will check it out. I feel like as more people start to see this movie, maybe it'll become more appreciative. It's not it's not my favorite Giallo or anything like that, but I still feel like it's a really interesting one and a really solid one with some pretty interesting camera work and some good performances and things like that. So like I said, we got a brand new 2K restoration from the original negative from Arrow, and when we got the Italian track on this. This one supposedly was dubbed in English, but that dub is lost. I mean, how do you lose a dub? I don't know. But supposedly there was an English dub for this, but it's forever lost. So it's just the Italian track on this one. And of course, you got a new commentary track, a brand new interview with actor Salvatore Panuto. I think that's how you pronounce his name. I watched that. He's a pretty well-known Italian actor. He starred in a bunch of Argento's movies and things like that. And he talks about his experience with this movie and how it was a positive one, and his experience working with the actors and the director and all that kind of stuff. So it's really interesting. It's only like a 14-minute featurette, but the fact that it's on here is still nice. I'd like to see at least some new featurette on a release that has never been put out before. So that's cool to have that on there. And then front and end titles from the Lost English dub, which I just talked about, and image gallery. So not too many features. Just the major thing on this is the commentary track and that new interview that was done. So I feel like you guys should check this one out if you guys get a chance. If you like Italian Giallos, I feel like it's not too bad actually. And I feel like I said, as more people see it, maybe more people start talking about it now that they finally have the chance. So that is my review of The Weapon, The Hour, and The Motive. If you guys like this review, please give it a thumbs up, and I shall see you guys in a little bit with the third and final review of the Giallo Essentials Black box set. See you guys soon. Alright, what's going on everyone out there, and welcome to the third and final film in Volume 3 of the Giallo Essentials box set from Arrow. And the third and final film in this set is a movie called The Killer Reserved 9 Seats, and this is from 1974. Now this one, let me throw this down. Now this one is interesting because it definitely has a mixture of the two films that came before it, The Elements at least, piled together into one complete Giallo. You have the sleaziness of the first movie and the detective story of the second film, and this all piled into one package with this film. And is it any good? I mean, it's a whodunit kind of film where we follow 9 characters who arrive at this party, which is taking place in this 100-year-old theater that hasn't been opened in 100 years. And we learned that 100 years ago, 9 people were invited to a party very similar to like what's happening during the current events of this movie. 9 people get invited to go to this theater, and a few days later, they are all found murdered and locked inside of this theater. So you can probably guess where this is going. I mean, that this one takes place 100 years later, and the same events are happening once again as our 9 characters get picked off one by one as they try to figure out who the killer is. That's basically about it. You know, it's 10 little Indians wrapped around the Giallo, and along the way, like I said, you have your sleaziness, you have all your nudity, all your lesbian scenes, and all your normal stuff that you see in Giallos, along with, for the first time, Black Glove Killer, which is, you know, wasn't seen in the first 2 movies, but the Black Glove Killer makes an appearance in this movie. and and the POV and what we usually see when we associate stuff with giallos. It's a little bit more prominent in this movie than it was the first two films. And I have to say, the mask that the killer wears in this film is quite creepy. It's like this plastic mid-1970s mask with these huge bushy eyebrows. It's really, really creepy mask. And I feel like this movie, because it hasn't really been seen much, nobody really talks about that mask as being one of the more creepier masks of the early 70s, at least, or at least giallos. And I feel like this mask is really, really creepy looking. I mean, it's right there on the cover. You guys can see it. And like I said, basically it's just a whodunit. Characters getting picked off one by this character in the mask. And as we learn at the end, there's a whole curse going on with this theater and things along that. I don't want to ruin the rest of the film. But if... this one has more kills, so it's more interesting than the other two films. I don't feel like I like it as much as the second film in this set, but I still feel like it's an enjoyable giallo, and it definitely has more going on in the terms of killings. So you guys like killings, you're probably going to like this film more than the other two, which is more relying on, like I said, the first film was more relying on sleaziness, and the second film is more reliable on police drama. But this one has them all packaged together into one concrete package. It's good. I'd give it a watch at least once. Like I said, if you guys are into giallos. So this, you get a new 2K restoration from the original camera negatives. You also get the Italian and English soundtrack. Of course, I watched the Italian track. English subtitles, of course, for that track. And you got a brand new commentary track by a author who is familiar with Italian films, and you got two new interviews, one with Howard Ross, who is an actor in this movie, as well as the screenwriter, and then you got the Italian theatrical trailer, and then you got an image gallery and new artwork. So the Killer Reserve 9 Seats, it's a fun little giallo. Runs about 104 minutes or so. It doesn't overstay its welcome or anything like that. And it's an interesting whodunit Agatha Christie kind of a film. So that is my thoughts on the Killer Reserve 9 Seats. The setting is pretty cool too. I think this huge old theater is a pretty cool setting. So that is my thoughts of the Giallo Essentials box set. For the packaging, you get this really cool slip cover, which has this circle in the middle of it, shows the middle of the outer box. So you got this really cool slip cover and a hard box, and inside you have your 3 regular cases, all with the original normal goodies that Arrow throws in. All of the releases have original cover art as well as a booklet. And once again, as I always say, always read the booklets. They have a bunch of really cool and fun information. So this is a really nice, again, package from Arrow of 3 kind of forgotten giallos that really haven't seen the light of day very often, at least here in the States. So it's a cool set from Arrow, and it's cool to finally watch some more giallo films outside of November, because like I said, kind of used to watching Italian films in November, so to watch them outside of the month of November is quite weird, but I had a good time with this set. All 3 of the films, while they're not classics or anything like that, I still feel like at least 2 out of the 3 were pretty enjoyable and worth the watch. I think Smile Before Death is unfortunately the outlier in this set. It's not the greatest film in my opinion, but I feel like the other 2 are quite interesting and worth to watch. So pick this up. You can pick this up, like I said, on Blu-ray at all your favorite online retailers. So that is my review of the Giallo Essentials Volume 3 Black set. If you guys like this review, please give it a thumbs up. And as always, you can follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/NESRuler22. Hope everybody is doing well, and I shall talk to you guys soon. See you guys.